This is how to loom knit adult booties. I'm doing 2 types, and this is the first type, which you're doing on a 24 peg loom, and you're doing it more like a sock. It has the most versatility to fit exactly to the length of your foot that you want. And we're going to start with that one. So we're going to do type 1. And I'm only going to do to the ankle, which allows you to do whatever cuff you want on the boot. Now this is my type 2 bootie, and it doesn't have as much versatility to size, but it looks more like a shoe rather than a sock, and I'm only going to work to the ankle as well. And with the type 2, you can add a sole to it, which I'll try to show later on. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on type 1, and we're going to go ahead and draw a string cast on 24 pegs, and we're going to work from the toe to the ankle. Let's go ahead and draw a string cast on 24 pegs, and you'll want a bulky yarn for this. And if you choose to use a worsted yarn, make sure that you double up your strands. Now the reason I'm only showing to the ankle is if you are a loom knitting fanatic, you've gone in and you've looked at all these nice stitch techniques, and this is basically a chance to do those stitch techniques at your cuff area above the ankle. But I'll also be using this video as a template for other booties that I might make the base for this, and then show you how to make certain cuffs for booties. Okay, at this point go ahead and E-wrap 24 pegs. With this type pattern here, the type 1, you can actually draw a line around the foot of the person or yourself that you're making these for, and judge how long you need to make the foot area. As I said, it has more of adjustability to exact fit than the type 2, but each has their benefits. This one's a little bit more difficult than type 2 to make. Now we're going to knit 12 total pegs. And we're going to be doing a 2-row pattern. So this is the first row of the 2-row pattern. Let's go ahead and knit. And now you want to purl 12 pegs. And what the purling is doing is actually giving you a nice ridge underneath the sole of the foot, and it makes it an easier pattern to follow to add tread to the sole. Okay, that was your first row of the 2-row pattern that we're going to be doing, and now you want to just knit 24 pegs all the way around. But the groove you're creating underneath the sole allows you to take a hot glue gun or silicone or whatever and do strips along the purled rows to give you a nice tread, so the lines underneath make it really easy to do a tread. And I show an example of how to go about doing that in How to Loom Baby Booties, the fall one with the actual crocodile stitching in it with the loom, so I show how to do that at the end of the video. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to repeat the last 2 rows 13 total times, and then you do one more row to finish off with a knit 12 and purl. So this is what it should look like. And if you need it longer, go ahead and do that 2-row combo however long you need it. But this is going to be for a size 6 approximately to a size 8. Go ahead and wrap and turn your next peg, and now you're going to knit 12 pegs. And we're going to be working on the heel. But the size I'm making fits anywhere from probably about, I would say, a 6, 6.5 to an 8, 8.5. It has a nice stretch to it. Again, if you have a longer foot, you can do the 2-row pattern more times. Now you want to wrap and turn the next peg, and then you want to purl 11. Okay, now you want to wrap and turn the next peg. Let me adjust the camera so you can see this easier. You want to wrap and turn the next peg so that it's lining up with the very end wrap and turn. And now what you want to do is you want to go in and knit. All the way over until just before the last wrap and turn on the other side. And now you want to wrap and turn the next peg, and then you want to purl 9 pegs. Okay, you want to wrap and turn the next peg, and then you want to knit 8 pegs. And you're going to keep doing this wrap and turn until you're down to 6 pegs. In between those wrap and turns, that only have one loop on them. Okay, go ahead and wrap and turn the next peg and purl 7 pegs. Okay, wrap and turn the next peg and knit 6 pegs. Wrap and turn the next peg and purl 6 pegs. After this, we've just completed to the point of the heel where we're fixing to start working upwards towards the ankle. And so this is our last row of purling. After this, we're just going to do knitting only. And so you have 6 pegs in between those wrap turns. Now go ahead and knit 7 pegs. And toss both loops over on the wrap and turn. Now you want to knit 8 pegs. Okay, now you want to knit 9 pegs. And as you can see, I'm just going back and forth, and I'm adding one wrap and turn before turning and going to the other end and getting the next wrap and turn till you're down to no wrap and turns. And when you do get to those wrap and turns, make sure you toss both loops over. Alright, go ahead and knit 10. Now you want to knit 11. and then you want to knit 12, and then you want to knit 13, and now you want to knit 13 again, and then that gets you back to your starting point. You will notice that you have one more wrap and turn. That's okay. You're going to get it with the next row because we're fixing to start working circularly again, because we've just completed our heel section, and now what we're wanting to do is work up to our ankle. Okay, now working circularly again, you want to knit 24 pegs for 8 rows. Sorry, you want to knit 24 pegs for 8 rows, or you can do 10 rows depending on if you want it higher on the ankle, but you want to knit 24 pegs for 8 or 10 rows. Okay, just go ahead and continue doing however many rows you want to the ankles. At this point you can cast off if you just want it to stop at the ankles, or you can add whatever cuff you want. It's wide open. You can even crochet a cuff. I chose to crochet the crocodile stitch for my mother because she wanted the particular look. So after you do whatever you want to do for the cuff, then you want to just sew up your toe. We're going to move on to the type 2 bootie for adults. This is very similar to my regular bootie patterns that I tend to do a lot. And you're going to need your 40 peg loom. 40, 41 peg, this is work for both of them. And what you want to do is you want to draw string, cast on 40 or 41 pegs, depending on which loom you have. And you'll want to use a bulky yarn. If you choose to use a worsted yarn, make sure you double up your strands of yarn. This is actually the easier boot to make, but it has more difficulty forming to the foot, but it also allows to make it easy to go in and do a nice leather sole and that kind of thing because it's shaped in more of a boot. And again, I will try to do a tutorial on how to do that, but that's the wonder of this particular pattern. So now you want to go in and you want to E-wrap 40 or 41 pegs circularly for 6 rows for smaller. And if you have a larger foot that's in the 9 to 10 range, you'll want to do 7 rows. And where we're working is we're working from the sole to the ankle. And this sole area is a really good guide to be able to add the leather soling and cushioning and everything and make it more like a store-bought boot. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your rest of your rows, whether it be 5 or 6 more rows. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to purl 40 to 41 pegs for 3 rows. So you're going to purl all the way around for 3 rows. And this allows the E-wrap area to fold under easily. I tend to use a purl row randomly if I want the garment or whatever to fold in a direction that I want. Now go ahead and pause the video and complete 2 more rows. Now after this, you can see what we've done. We're going to knit 40 or 41 pegs for 4 rows. At this point, we're working the top of the shoe or the boot. Go ahead and pause the video to complete 3 more rows. Now at this point we're going to start working flat, and what you want to do is you want to decrease on either side of your starting point like I just did, and then you want to knit all the way around. And what we're doing is we're doing a decrease to where it'll be smaller at the ankle. Okay, now what you want to do is you want to decrease by 1 on each end again, and then you want to knit all the pegs. And what you want to do is you want to continue this system of decreasing by 1 on each end and knitting all the pegs. And you want to do that until you're down to either 24 or 25 pegs. So you'll want to keep decreasing on each end and then knitting all the pegs down to 24 or 25 pegs depending on the loom you have. This one's a 41 peg loom. So go ahead and pause the video to complete the booty down to 24 or 25 pegs. At this point you could cast off to stop it at the ankle, or you can put the loops on a stitch holder. You'll need two of them. You'll want to put half of the loops on one and the other half on another, and you can place them on a 24 peg loom and do a cuff that way, so that all you have to do is sew up the front. And after you finish your cuff, you want to sew up the bottom of the booty, and then you want to sew up that space if you chose to add a cuff to the cuff to the sole. So you'll want to fold it in half this way to sew up your sole, and then you'll want to sew up, fold this in half, the opening here, and you'll want to sew it together. So you'll see that seam right there all the way up to the cuff, and you'll see the sole seam, and those are your two seams. And I chose to do a cabling pattern, and you can do that, and I would go ahead and cast off, and then you can sew it on like I did here. There's many options as to how you want to add a cuff. So if you've seen a stitch you like and everything, here's a good place to use it. So it looks funky now, but once it comes off, it looks normal. So again, this will be my reference video for other videos to do the cuffs. And here's what the type 1 looks like when done. And that's what the crocodile stitch crocheted. And here is what type 2 looks like, and on this one I actually moved to a 24 peg loom to do the cuff. But that's it. You're done.